Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. And as you can see here, an article from New York Times. Trump says Smithsonian focuses too much on how bad slavery was. The remark made as president has ordered a wide-ranging review of museum exhibits added to his pattern of minimizing so-called black history. And we're living in a time where Esau Edom is being confronted for his crimes, all right? And as the scriptures say, in the latter days, Inquisition would be made of those who have hurt unjustly for their wickedness. And a lot of things are being called out. A lot of history that was once not known is now being made manifest via the internet, via the Lord putting the spirit on particular people to bring things out. But this Smithsonian Museum, okay, which is a African-American history, and it deals with African-American history and culture, which we know African-American is an oxymoron, but within these museums, it gives particular history, even things like critical race theory, have been challenged and, taken away from the school systems because they exposed a lot of the realities of how Babylon the Great was established, and it was established on rape, robbery, and murder. As a matter of fact, let's get the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and 12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and establisheth a city by iniquity. All right. And here it is, Esau Edom, he loves to say that civilization started with the Greeks, but none of these so-called civilizations that Esau has led have really been civilized. Okay, they've been full of rape, robbery, and murder, and he established those, kingdoms by the sword, bloodshed, lies, deceit. Okay, and it's no different here with America. So the Lord says, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and establisheth a city by iniquity. Okay? And let's get the book of, I believe, Numbers 33 and 35, or 35 and 33. Haven't read that one in a minute. About the blood. 33 and 35. It may be 35 and 33. Give me 1 second here. Numbers 35 and 33. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein you are, for blood it defileth the land, and the blood cannot be cleansed, and that land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. So again, Habakkuk 2 and 12 says, woe to him, all right, that buildeth a town by blood and establisheth a city by iniquity. And that's exactly, all right, the history of Babylon the Great. All right, NLT, what sorrow awaits you who build cities with money gained through murder and corruption. And the chickens are coming home to roost, man. Okay, it was, again, as the book of Isaiah, the 47th chapter said, when Esau Edom did all of these crimes, Isaiah 47 and 7, you said, I will reign forever as queen of the world. Ye did not reflect on your actions or think about their consequences, man. And us calling you out is just the beginning of the consequence. Okay? Again, there's a shameful spewing being poured on the legacy of Esau Edom. So with President Trump getting in office, all right, really the goal is to make the Edomite great again, because, all right, there has been a shame. All right, so-called white supremacy has been tarnished. The truth about who you are and what you do has come out. All of the pedo rings, all of the bloodshed, all of the secret societies and demonic rituals, the stuff you have people to go through in the music and Hollywood, world, the porn industry, all of these things you own, the music, and it's all coming out about the owners. Because we could always look at the result and mock and laugh at the people who, are slaves to this mess. But who set up a system to where people are subject to this kind of behavior? That's what the focus has been put on. Okay? And slavery is the least of your worries. Okay? What you did to our people in slavery, you're going to have to pay for it. But, all right, that's just the tip of the iceberg, man. Okay? The tip of an iceberg is a saying, all right, you see an iceberg, poking out of water. But really, that's just the tip of something that goes deeper and deeper and deeper underwater. Okay? President Trump accused the Smithsonian Institution on Tuesday of focusing too much on how bad slavery was and not enough on the brightness of America, all right, as his administration conducts a wide-ranging review of the content in its museum exhibits. And ultimately what Esau is doing is, when it's all said and done, there won't be anything published negative about their existence or about what they've done, their history. But see, the beauty of it is that the Lord has remembered your iniquities. Okay? The angel, everything's recorded. So no matter what you take out of the school, all right, what you've lied about, ultimately, the as a nigga once said, the truth is like a beach ball. You put it underwater, it's bound to come up. All right. It says the Smithsonian is out of control, where everything is discussed on how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. See? Nothing about the success, nothing about the brightness, nothing about the future, Mr. Trump said in a social media post. This country cannot be woke, and woke is now tied to niggas. And woke is now tied to, the LGBT, XYZ, civil rights, DEI, all right, marginalized group of people, man. And you've allowed your leaders, you so-called blacks, you've allowed your leaders, all of the tribes, but you so-called blacks especially, because you're the head tribe, you've allowed your leaders to walk you, all right, integrate you into that madness. So now calling out certain atrocities and telling the truth about certain things can be associated with being woke. And Esau's tired of woke. Esau's tired of niggas calling him out, bringing up the past, when all he does is complain and bring up the past. Listen to Edomites. All they do is complain. But they act like Jake is the most complaining. All right, see, Jake's issue is that they're complaining about the wrong cause, man. All right, even when they bring up so-called slavery and all of these various different things, they're doing it from a perspective that you treat them equal and accept them and just say sorry, as if that's going to change anything. Anyway, woke is broke. We have the hottest country in the world, and we want people to talk about it, including in our museums. So basically, they want the museums not to reflect the reality of how this place was established, breaking all of those treaties with the so-called Native Americans, the brutal history of what you did to them, the brutal, the things that your Edomite, all right, leaders and founding fathers wrote in their diaries, okay, about how gullible these people are and how we could take advantage of them and take anything we want, yada yada yada. How you pillaged, raped, robbed, and murdered the villages when the men were away. How you gave them smallpox blankets as a reward for them helping you and showing you how to clean yourself up. Again, when you devils came over here, there wasn't a such thing as a common cold. All of these diseases that are now plaguing Babylon, America, they weren't here at one point. You can go to a river, to a creek, and drink out of it before you came. There were beavers everywhere, which are important to the ecosystem. You killed all of the beavers. You've ruined the ecosystem. You've ruined the earth. You've ruined the people. Okay? Now you don't want any blame in the result, but you just want to sit and blame niggas all day. Again, the 2/3 are at fault, all right? But you as well are at even more fault, right? Trump made the comments last week after the White House, a week after the White House told Smithsonian that its museums would be required to adjust any content that the administration finds problematic in tone, historical framing, and alignment with American ideals within 120 days. So they had 120 days to take down things that expose them. This lets you know Esau Edom is losing. Because again, how has this man ruled the earth? He ruled the earth in complete madness and pseudoscience. Let's get the book of 2 Thessalonians, right? Let's get the book of 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, and the 8th verse. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, the prophets, and those who he even the own tongues of these Edomites that have fallen on themselves. That's the Lord's doing. And shall destroy them with the brightness of his coming. Okay, the man of sin, the wicked, even him. So there will be an exposing of the wicked in the latter days. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. This man will come to do the work of Satan with counterfeit power, signs, and miracles. And when you look up this word lying wonders, okay, it's pseudos, a lie. Okay, so they've used their pseudoscience to, prop themselves up as this great nation to, present you tribes, the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, and all of the rest of the people to the earth. He's presented them in a sense of a lie, focusing on our people especially. He presented you as the savage and him as the hero, right? He's put terms on the nations that aren't true. Okay, he's disrupted the cultures of the people, spreading wine. A lie, a conscious and intentional falsehood in a broad sense, whatever is not what it seems to be, of perverse, impious, or deceitful precepts. Even the way he used the scriptures, man. See? And see that pseudos. See if we can. I'll pull something. Give me one second. That pseudoscience it was never meant to last forever. The wine is being dried up. See, you're now being questioned. The earth is crying out against you devils, man. Was pseudoscience such as low IQ and racial superiority used to justify the colonial period and slavery? Yes, pseudoscience such as racial superiority theories and fabricated notions of intelligence were heavily used to justify both colonialism and slavery. So again, the scriptures told you what this man will come and bring to a T. He would come with pseudos. All right? Pseudoscience. That's what controls the narrative in the media. All right? This is what he has used to justify his BS, and it's no longer going to work. Now he's tapping back into it, and he's adding AI to it. And he thinks that this is going to get him the victory. He thinks he's going to be able to erase his real history and present himself as just racial superior group of people who deserve to just rule and dominate. Well, the only reason you ruled and dominated was because the Lord gave you the power to do that. In the 16th through 19th centuries, early European justification for slavery leaned on biblical misinterpretations. Again, what did we just read? Okay, perverse or impious, deceitful precepts. He used the Bible to prop himself up and present himself as the chosen, to present himself as the savior, and he brought this Judeo-Christian rhetoric with white Jesus and the sword, man. Okay? Now they're trying to make you to believe that they're still Christian. Meanwhile, they're bringing in a satanic agenda, and their whole kingdom is filled with Satan. Even those so-called Edomite Christians, it's all really about Edomite supremacy, man. Okay? And this just gives you a little bit of that history. Okay? But biblical misinterpretations such as the curse of Ham, we ultimately are under the curse of Ham. That's why our skin is black. We're the Hamites. They presented you as African American or Africans. But as Enlightenment ideas about freedom and human rights spread, defenders of slavery need new arguments. They turned, all right, to scientific racism. Okay? Thinkers like Carl Linnaeus, who classify humans into racial subspecies, and John Blumenbach, who popularized the Caucasian category, framed Africans as biologically different and inferior. Okay? So when their lies about, the biblical misinterpretations ran out, they tapped into more pseudoscience and made scientific racism. Okay? And this is what they're when you listen to these devils talk about, well, America was, the how we ruled was brutal, but let's look at the good in it. We saved the world from these civilized monkeys. And see, even in that whole evolution thing, where they talk about Lucy, the ancestor Lucy, where man used to be a monkey, they're talking about you niggas and evolving past you. Evolving past the stupid monkey, the subhuman, the one who's 3/5 of a human being, half monkey, half. They're talking about you tribes. And they want to evolve past you. Even want to do away with you. And this is why they're presenting you to the world as monsters, which a lot of you are monsters. A lot of you are subhuman, right? Right? But that's not the truth about all of our people. And there's a reason behind why they're acting the way that you act, and you have a lot to do with it. So now they're presenting you to the world as a problem, as a savage, and they're getting ready to roll on you, all right? Even weaponize, all right, a lot of these Edomites who are downtrodden and through and just mad that their so-called America is being stripped away from them, and they're getting ready to go in. All right, but there's a judgment for your ass as well. By the 19th century, craniometry, measuring skulls, which you go back to Darwin with that, and later IQ tests were misused to prove black people were less intelligent, therefore naturally suited for servitude or labor, or even put in the sword to. And you hear these talking points coming out of Donald Trump's mouth. You hear these talking points coming out of all of these devils' mouths. Elon Musk. All right? And the elder Requia Kwam, okay, was the first to say they're getting ready to tap back into the pseudoscience. All right? And we even did some videos on it. He did a video. I hopped on a video with him. I started speaking on it, and you can see it now. In the colonial periods, 18th to 20th century, European empires justified domination over Africa and the Americas, Asia, with the ideas of a civilizing mission or white man's burden, claiming Europeans were intellectually and morally superior. Social Darwinism, a distorted theory, argued that the stronger races were destined to dominate the weaker ones. Anthropologists and colonial officials used biases, studied language, culture, and physiology to rank people on a ladder from primitive to civilized. And see, you see this dude, I forget his name, man, Mark something. He's talking about people are calling him out for his ideas on basically, doubling down on America's history and being proud of it, because the people that were here were primitive. They didn't even have a wheel, meaning a barrel. They didn't know how to create nothing. They were dumb. They were stupid. So really what we did to them, giving them those diseases, rape, robbing, and murder, help the earth because the land that they occupied was not being used in a way to forward anything. Okay? Anthropologists and colonial officials use biases to do this. Eugenics movement, late in the 19th and 20th centuries, further spread the idea of racial heretics. All right, I'm rushing because I ain't got that much time. Eugenics movement in the late 19th and 20th centuries further spread the idea of racial hierarchies and scientific fact, and this is why they were able to put Planned Parenthood in your neighborhoods to kill you off, to put all kind of poison in your foods and in your neighborhoods and in your entertainment to ultimately confuse you and make you through. Okay? So these pseudo-scientific claims were never neutral. They provided a moral and intellectual cover for exploitation. Slavery, justified as natural since Africans were less evolved. Colonialism, justified as progress since Europeans were uplifting supposedly childlike people. All right, segregation and apartheid, justified as scientific necessity to prevent racial degeneration. And now we're seeing the same thing happening with those small hats and those, all right, those Palestinian people. Okay? In short, what we now recognize as racist pseudoscience was central to defending slavery and colonialism, where religious and economic justifications alone no longer sufficed. See that? Let's see if it tells the truth. Is Trump and Musk using these ideas today? See what it says. Under the guise, if that's a word, of MAGA. See if it tells the truth. Yeah, they are. Trump's use of genetic biological narratives. Yeah, they're tapping into it, but they're doing it in a way. All right, you could read that because I ain't got that much time. Yes, there is substantial evidence that Trump has used pseudoscientific themes like IQ obsession, biological determinism, and genetic superiority to underpin his rhetoric on immigration, real Americans, and national identity. Okay? Musk, while not a traditional politician, shares overlapping rhetoric, criticism of DEI, which they just tied that to you niggas, invocation of genetic determinism, and signaling toward race-based conspiracies, all framed under technocratic, all right, and meritocratic terms that echo racist pseudoscience. Okay, and yes, the bottom line is yes, Trump and Elon are leveraging or enabling the spread of pseudoscientific notions like racial IQ differences and genetic superiority to basically justify rolling on you people and getting rid of you and replacing you with robots. See, this is what's happening in the world. So the Bible told the truth. The Bible warned that this is what you would do. Let's get the book of Revelation 13. Revelation 13. And 7. And it was given unto him, Esau, Edom, to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And there was given and there was given power to him over all kindreds, tongues, and nations. You see that? And how did he do it? With the sword, with his pseudoscience. He used the sword and then he backed it via pseudoscience when ultimately the whole religious narrative played out that he was a Christian coming to save the world. That played out. Then he tapped into his pseudoscience. And he's doing the same thing right now. Okay? Revelation 13 and 5. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things in blasphemies. And power was given to him to continue 40 and 2 months. That 350-year period where Esau became just absolutely dominant. Okay? Free labor. And then he was using that pseudoscience then. Okay, and there's even more to that pseudoscience. It's so deep. This is what rules the narrative about who we are, and this is what they use in the news and all of these but they hide it. Again, you got to understand, the word of his mouth was smoother than butter. Okay? What was this? Is it oil? Boom. Psalms 55:21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words are softer than oil, yet are they drawn sword. So the way he says these things, and he even got certain Jake, all right, who buy into it. And we get it. The tribes do wickedness, man. But you Edomites have done, all right, come on now. But again, the Lord in 2 Thessalonians 2:9, this man will come to do the work of Satan with counterfeit power, pseudoscience, signs, and miracles. All right, it's technology as well. He will use every kind of deception to fool those on their way to destruction because they refuse to love and accept the truth that will save them. So a lot of our people believe in this mess. A lot of our people believe they came from monkeys. Okay? Isaiah 47:8. Listen to this, you pleasure-loving kingdom, living at ease, feeling secure in your bullshit, man. You say, I am the only one, and there is no other. I'm God. He reinvented basically even the names of the nations. He basically replaced everything that was true with a lie. I will never be a widow or lose children. Well, both of these things will come upon you in a moment. Widowhood and the loss of children. Yes, these calamities will come upon you despite all your witchcraft and magic. You felt secure in your wickedness. You said, no one sees me. You said, but your wisdom and knowledge have led you astray. And you said, I am the only one and there is no other. Basically, there is no higher power. You really believed your own bullshit. When really you know there's a higher power. But see, you're the seed of the serpent. So your whole, MO is to present a narrative that reflects a culture and a mindset outside of what he established. And Tawada Yahweh Bashimi Ashai for a remnant, man. Habakkuk 2:16. Thou art filled with shameful glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. See? For the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of beasts which made them afraid. Look what you did to the animals, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land and of the city and all that dwell therein. So Habakkuk is describing the very kingdom that we're living in, because this is the final kingdom before the Lord sets his judgment. You see? So ultimately, your foreskin is being uncovered. Okay? Proverbs 3:35. The wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the promotion of fools. Isaiah 47:3. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. See that? So now it's time for your ass to drink. Isaiah 49:26. And I will feed them that oppress thee with their own flesh, and they shall be drunken with their own blood as sweet wine, and all flesh shall know that I am Yahweh. I am thy Savior and the Redeemer of the mighty one of Jacob. Isaiah 51:21. Therefore now hear this, thou afflicted and drunken, but not with wine, man. You drunken off of these philosophies. Thus saith the Lord thy God, thy power, and thy God that pleaded the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thy hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury, and thou shalt no more drink it again. But I will put it into the hand of them that afflicted thee, was said unto thy soul, bow down that we may go over. And thou hast laid thy body as the ground, all right, as the street to them that went over. So it's no more that, that docile, bowing down to you Edomites, accepting anything you say. You being questioned, man. Okay, you're under investigation. Okay, and the fact you got to do this, okay, the fact you got to do this and take out your true legacy out of these museums, okay, is proof that you through. Okay? So You can read up on that. You know, I ain't gonna even go any further. But, you know, Esau's through, man. Hey, Esau's the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, man. You know, we at the end of this man's rhetoric, his BS, and you should be fed up with seeing his ass talk, hearing him, you know, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, man. Don't let these devils, you know, scare you with this madness and, you know, this tough talk. The Lord is on our side, man. Shalom.